Hey guys, this is Kevin, and for today's video, I thought I would share something about Filipino culture that may take some getting used to if you are moving to the Philippines or just even visiting there and you live in the West, like in the United States. And it's something that I kind of affectionately call the fat report, and it comes from, I didn't invent that term, it came from my mentor because what he was warning me about or letting me know is that Filipinos have a tendency to be very direct when commenting on one's personal appearance. So when he would visit the United States for 6 months or for a year, what they commonly call a furlough, a lot of times when he would come back, the Filipinos would tell him that he's either gotten fatter or maybe even gotten skinnier. It just kind of depends on what happened during that trip. And I noticed the same thing. It was very common that when I would, especially when I would go to the U.S. or when people hadn't seen me for a while, when I would come back and we would see each other again for the first time, they would comment on my perceived weight gain or weight loss. So it was very normal for me to see people I haven't seen for a while, and they would say something like, parang tumaba ka, which is, it looks like you've gained a little weight. Or another funny thing that would happen is sometimes they would say something like, parang mas lalo kang pumuti, which is, Kevin, it's like you've gotten even whiter, as if that's possible. But that is something to be aware of if you're going to live in the Philippines. And it's an interesting dichotomy. All cultures have dichotomies or things that seem to contradict. And when it comes to comments on physical appearance, this is one of them, and here's why. Filipinos tend to put so much value on relationships that they tend to euphemize and speak indirectly in many ways. So let's just say, for example, that you invite someone over to your house. You invite Filipinos over to your house, and you offer them something to drink, some water or a snack. They're probably not going to say no thank you, because even something as simple as that that's so direct can be considered a little bit rude. So they're likely to say, well, later. Okay, that's maybe their way of saying they're not hungry, they're not thirsty, but they're not going to say it directly. They'll say, well, no, maybe later. In the same way, let's say when you invite someone to some type of event, you invite someone to go with you somewhere, or let's say you're having something and you're having a party, for example, and you invite one of your friends and they have no intention of going, they're probably not going to say, no, I can't go. What they're more likely to say is, well, we'll try. And that is a very soft way of saying no. In fact, what happens in some cases, I believe that I would hear people term this the Filipino yes. In some cases, a Filipino may tell you yes when they actually don't mean it, just because they consider it rude to say no. So those are some things to be aware of. But anyway, you can see the dichotomy that I'm talking about when it comes to interactions, and in many ways they'll euphemize and speak indirectly. So Westerners are considered very upfront, comparatively speaking, very direct and upfront. But when it comes to the topic of appearance and especially weight, it's the reverse. As all of you know, here in America, you do not comment on someone's weight, especially a female, a woman. You do not do that. That is a declaration of war. That is a deep insult. It does not matter. You do not comment about that. It is almost what we would consider taboo. Well, it is not that way at all in the Philippines. And if you're a Westerner that moves there, you can expect to hear comments on, maybe they're not all bad. It may be, you're so tall, you're so white, if you're overweight, why are you so fat? I mean, you just have to kind of get used to that. So this is just something that you're going to have to adapt to if you move to the Philippines, and be aware of. If you're someone who is sensitive about people commenting on your appearance, or if you're so-called thin-skinned, then this may be an issue for you. For me, it never was. And one thing that I'll add to this topic that maybe you've picked up on from what I've said so far, Filipinos discuss this so casually that sometimes you can really just take it with a grain of salt. So, for example, when the Filipinos would joke that I had somehow gotten whiter, needless to say, I don't know that that's even humanly possible. So, in other words, sometimes it is simply a way for them to make conversation. Or you've gotten, looks like you've put on some weight, looks like you've lost some weight. And again, that is not the typical conversation starter in the U.S. It would be more like a conversation ender. But there, that's just that's just the way that people talk about certain things, and it's different maybe from the culture that you grew up in. So anyway, it's just something to be aware of, and I will make some comments on other aspects of culture maybe in future videos.